Inner Peace, Better Health, the space where emotional depth meets everyday wisdom. I'm your host, Shreya, and tonight's guest proves that even in the corporate world, the heart still matters most. Tom Haggerty is 71 years young, a father, grandfather, Jesuit trainer, thinker, and author of The Business of Relationships. With decades of experience across government, private enterprise, and consulting, Tom knows that how we connect is just as vital as what we do. From losing his brother to cancer to transforming his health and purpose, Tom's journey reminds us that real strength comes from honest reflection and deep relationships. Let's dive into a conversation that bridges business smarts with soulful living. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Shreya. I'm glad to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this.
I am glad to have you in my conversation and in my podcast. So, Tom, your book Business of Relationships suggests that connection isn't just personal; it's strategic. What made you want to write about this intersection?
Well, I think the intersection is unavoidable. All of us are in
Mhm.
relationships of various types, and as human beings, that is foundational to our well-being and our health. Some of those, relationships are certainly parent-child, sibling to sibling. They are colleague to colleague in the workplace, neighbor to neighbor, right down to people that we enjoy being with in social settings, golf partners, cocktail party, uh, uh, people that we
Yeah,
go out and so forth. And those foundational relationships are the primary indicators of our emotional and oftentimes our physical health. And
okay.
my premise simply was that there are about 12 characteristics that many people gravitate toward when they point to the markers of a successful interpersonal relationship. And I think where my book took a departure from the norm is saying that in those 12 key categories, those 12 key qualities, we have examples of business wisdom from great leaders, great CEOs in a variety of different genres, in a variety of different industries, and even in a variety of different time frames in our history, that their wisdom can provide guidance and actionable, call it methodology, to improve those qualities and thus improve our relationships.
Great to know. Uh, Tom, do you think most people undervalue relationships in business because they are hard to measure?
I don't know that I would say it quite that way. I think that relationships are put in second place to results. And that is, I think, somewhat tragic in business, both globally as well as here in the United States, where there is a hyper competitive, very individualistic, uh, extremely aggressive business culture. I think many times relationships are transitional and transactional, but I don't think uh, that they are necessarily undervalued. I think they're underexamined. Maybe the primacy of relationships are underexamined. If they were examined more and they were um, looked at as vital, I think they would be more valued. I think that's where the CEOs in book excel, frankly, and we can talk about that in a little bit if you wish.
Yes, I definitely want you to talk about that.
Okay. Well, if you think of a CEO's job, envision a CEO like Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
multinational corporation like Apple. Think of a CEO like Jeff Bezos, multinational corporation like Amazon, and all the way back to Henry Ford and Conrad Hilton and Cornelius Vanderbilt and many other CEOs. Think in terms of India, the the CEOs, there of multinational corporations. Their biggest job is to foster great relationships. When you boil it down, they need to have great relationships with their employees, with their customers, with their suppliers, with their shareholders, in the case of public companies, various stakeholders, various regulatory agencies. That CEO sits at the helm, at the pinnacle of needing to foster great relationships. And I think sometimes the underbelly of the company, the operational aspects of the company gets lost in performance and metrics and misplaces relationships, where the CEO at the top is saying that is fundamental to me doing a good job, is having great relationships.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Um, we will just want to know more about you, that you are deeply rooted in Jesuit education and critical thinking. So how was that shaped your understanding of interpersonal connection?
Well, I think the Jesuit education that I received began in high school here in America. Our high school is running from about age 13 to age 18. And
Okay,
then I was with Jesuits in college as well and in postgraduate. So
okay,
I had about 10 years with the Jesuit tradition. And their tradition of critical thinking is that you don't just know the facts or the positions, but you know the source. You investigate the source, you test the credibility of the source,
okay.
and you actively look for alternative viewpoints. You're not afraid of alternative viewpoints. You are not scared by contrary opinions. You instead synthesize those. And I think that informed me about relationships as well, that I was always one to look for opportunities to connect. If you fail in your first chance to connect with someone or some organization, there might be another way. There might be an alternative path. There might be a second bite at the apple, so to speak, as we say in America. So I was always the one who uh, looked for options, if you will.
Okay, so you actually have spent a lot of time of Jesuit education, and I think this really shaped you and your thought process and really helped you a lot. As much as I have understand from your insights. So, does skepticism help or hinder emotional growth, especially in relationships?
I think a healthy dose of skepticism is essential to good relationships.
Okay,
I I think are not able to look in the mirror and question your motives, and then you are not able to look outward and do the same with your partners. Not that you are a cynic, or not that you are perpetually the doubter or the contrarian, but I think a healthy dose of skepticism and a willingness to, again, as I said, look in the mirror and then look outward is essential.
sure, sure, and that's a very good insight. Um, you have worn many hats, like execute. Hello.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, okay. I think we just have a glitch. So I will try to edit that part. So you have worn many hats like executive, fixer, consultant. What role does empathy play in leadership and negotiation?
I am a sound proponent of empathy. If you cannot walk in someone else's shoes, if you don't see what a particular issue means to them,
Okay.
if you can't understand another culture or another viewpoint, another set of experiences that form the basis for a certain position that someone is taking. If that if that empathy isn't there, I think relationships of all types are going to fail because you just never get to the point where you can see how the world looks, if you will, from another point of view and a set of experiences. I had something like this 2 days ago. I'm mentoring a young man who's 13 years old. He has been through a lot of tough times, a couple of foster home, underperforming in school, um, knows his father only that he has a first name, has never seen the man, raised in a single parent household, frequently homeless, a lot of really difficult circumstances. He's now in a better living environment in what we call a foster home, but he needs additional guidance. And if I can't put myself into his shoes, even though it's been a long time since I've been in the seventh grade, since I was a 13-year-old, but if I can't relate to his circumstances and what causes his fears and his insecurities and his doubts and his mistrust of the world, so to speak, if I can't get myself to look at it from that position, I won't be able to help him because I won't
Yes.
understand where he's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I've understand and what I've taken from your insights, that next time whenever I will be empathized to someone, I have to make me in their position and look from there. Otherwise, I don't think that I'll be able to do that, or anyone else will be able to do that. So that's a very nice insight.
Well, and I think, Shreya, that when you're empathetic with someone, I think you find yourself naturally asking questions that are open-ended of that person to try to investigate, try to cultivate, try to let them know that you are vitally interested in what they're doing and why they're doing it. So instead of saying what, you might say why, or instead of saying, uh, when, you might say how. How did you develop this line of thinking?
So basically, for next time when I will, I mean, if I have to empathize or I feel empathy for someone, then I'll naturally be in their position. And that's when I will understand that, okay, I'm really empathetic towards that person, is what I take it from here.
Yes, yes. And empathy is not necessarily support.
Yeah.
Empathy is not saying I support your bad choices in life. I support you continuing those bad choices or those addictive behaviors, but I empathize with where you are and why you may have gone in that path. And I'm going to, put myself in a position where through that empathy, I can potentially offer some solutions.
Yeah,
The,
definitely. So from there, I have a curiosity, and my next question comes from there, that how can someone develop authentic empathy without crossing into people pleasing or maybe burnout?
well, I think it comes down to values. I think all of us carry a rather fluid, sometimes set of values into all of our interactions with people. And if we place a high value on integrity, for instance, or if we play a high value on being trustworthy, then those core values are going to inform that relationship, and they are going to be guideposts for moving that relationship forward. So you can be empathetic with someone, but your values are going to inform your response to that, your guidance to that. If you think about a negotiation in business, you know, we can look at the company across the table from us that we're negotiating with, and we can understand some of the issues that they're grappling with in this negotiation. We can understand some of the limitations that they might have in this particular negotiation. But if we're grounded in our core values, we can be empathetic without being supportive, without being agreeable, or in your case, what you said about, you know, uh, being less than well, less than firm. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
So basically, in also negotiation, we have to set our boundaries early, and sometimes we have to learn to say no because that could be the kindest and the best choice sometime, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think no is a very underutilized word in the English language, both in business. Well, it really is. I mean, there are books now being written about
Yes.
the value of saying no, because no creates opportunities to prioritize other more important things. If we're saying yes to everything, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in business or whether it's in invitations to get involved in civic causes, no matter how beneficial they may be, if we don't have a firm set of values in place personally and we're saying yes to everything, then you know the old saying I used to have is that if everything is a priority, then nothing is.
Yeah.
And saying no establishes priorities. I think that's a very underutilized word in the American lexicon.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. And you have also mentioned being a recovering Catholic, a former smoker, and a heavy drinker. So, how has reclaiming your health and spiritual autonomy affected how you relate to others now?
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. I mean, when you replace a bad habit with a good habit over time, that becomes ingrained in your life, and it provides rewards that go far beyond the physical. I mean, I think I'm a better father. I think I'm a better grandfather. I think I'm a better associate in business. I think I'm more clear-headed. I think I'm more, to your words, empathetic. You know, I think my sense of integrity is much higher, and I think when people engage in a variety of bad habits, I won't touch for a minute the recovering Catholic part, but if you're talking about things like overeating, smoking, drinking,
Yeah,
um, you know, sex addictions, on and on and on, whatever those are. I think any behavior like that basically detracts from your ability to contribute to your brain and your body. And those two things are foundational. And if you're gonna have a successful life, you better have a high functioning brain, and you better have a body that is going to stand up to the rigors of the environment in which we live. So I think it's absolutely essential to foster good habits.
that's true. That's true.
And,
And
and, and
yeah,
I think, well, I think the recovering Catholic part, that was a cute phrase that I put into my bio because I heard it years ago, at a church that I was going to and still go to at this time. And I think what it says is that, you know, the Catholic religion, for all of its benefits, is very dogmatic, very rigid, very judgmental, and very exclusionary. You
okay.
know, and I think when I began to embrace a broader view of Christianity, I also was able to embrace a very broad view of Hinduism and of Buddhism and of Taoism and of the Muslim religion, as looking at it as saying this is part of the fabric of humanity, and being exclusionary and being dogmatic is not going to have good results for me. So that recovering Catholic part, while it's a cute phrase, it's one that I think is very beneficial to me.
Okay. So Tom, what's one personal ritual or mindset that helps you stay centered in relationships today?
Uh, Without question, I would say one of the most important ones is the one I begin every day with, and that is prayer and meditation.
Okay.
I think I, I think I get very grounded and very aware of my place in the universe and both its importance as well as its smallness, if you will. So it prevents me from having a lot of narcissism, and at the same time helps me to have a spirit of being helpful and of being there and being present for those people in my life. So I think prayer and meditation starting the day that way is essential to me.
That's great. That's great. And I think that's very special for everyone. I also start my day with prayers and meditation, and that helps me to stay calm and patience all day. So, Tom, my next, yeah. So my next question could be a little contradictory, but still I want to ask you because I think you'll be the best one to answer this. That some say is it's just business, not personal, but your work argues the opposite. So why is that mindset dangerous?
Why is it dangerous to make business personal? Is that your question?
Yeah, like people say that it's just business and business is not personal, but you say it's opposite. So why the first person, like who's saying the business is not personal, their mindset is dangerous, and
Oh,
why
I think it's
and why
dangerous
you
because,
argues with that? Like,
well, I would say this, um, first of all, you've got to take it at face value. It's a phrase, it's a catchphrase. It's like saying everything you do matters, or it's like saying everything happens for a reason, you know. So there are those little phrases that are kind of cute, but I think if you take the quote apart and say it's not personal, it's just business, it suspends the characteristics that we all thrive on for personal relationships. So you can say, if you truly took that quote to its logical end, you would say, because it's business, it doesn't matter if you're trustworthy or not. It doesn't matter if you're resilient. It doesn't matter if you're committed to a mutually beneficial solution. It doesn't matter if you're honest. It doesn't matter if you have integrity. And some of the other qualities that I put forward in my book, when I say that those qualities are transitional and they are essential to the human condition. And business is a part of that human condition, but that doesn't mean that we suspend those qualities just because we're doing business with each other. And when business is over,
yeah,
we can go back to being trustworthy, or we can go back to having integrity. That makes no sense to me at all.
okay, okay. And with that question, we have come to the end of the show. So, Tom, thank you for blending wisdom, wit, and soul so effortlessly. Your life and work show us that emotional fitness is business strategy and that deeper connections truly change everything. So, thanks to you for sharing so much information. And to all our listeners, remember the way you relate is the way you live, whether it's at the boardroom or the breakfast table. Let your connections be intentional, kind, and real. Until next time, breathe deeper, love smarter, and keep building the relationship that